fans? I'm still over in Mississippi and I'm still cooking up a storm, and I made chicken and rice from Chef John at Food Wishes and tried to follow his recipe as best as I could with the ingredients I had, and it was a hit. So today I'm making it again. This is Sunday, January 31st. Had to think about that. So let me show you all the different ingredients and what I've started with, okay? Thanks. Well, first I'm starting with some stock, and I know I've shown you this before. This is very familiar. This is stock that I cooked some other chicken in and I saved it. I forgot to put anything else in it but the chicken and salt and pepper though. So now I'm heating it up again because I want to use it hot. And you can see that there's some little fat in there and pieces of chicken, and there's some onion, celery, and carrots. And I'm really cooking that down until those vegetables are nice and limp, and then I'll strain them out like I said before. That's a very similar start to the chicken and dumplings that we did. Okay. In addition to that pot, I've got my daughter's lovely, heavy, I love this thing. I wish I could kidnap it, but that would be mean. Here's the lid. I forget the name of those things. Anyway, if I had lots of money, I would buy one just this size. It's not huge. Okay, let me show you the huge one. There's the huge one down in the cupboard, and it's made by Lodge actually. I might have to look into getting one of these. But this one is perfect for cooking for anywhere from 2 to 4 people. And so let me show you what I've got. And I've got a nice cast iron skillet on the ready. Now I'm going to start with my chicken. I have washed it and dried it. They say that's important so you don't put a whole lot of water into your skillet when you're trying to fry it up. I think that makes sense. I'm going to salt and pepper that well. Looks like I've ended up with 5 decent sized thighs. That one's pretty big. Some of them are kind of skimpy. But we'll keep that covered up till we're ready. Like I said, I started with that, trying to get my vegetables cooked down, and now I'm hurrying up and waiting, as my husband says. So I'm going to brown that chicken in here. This is thighs that are on the bone. Okay, they still have a bone in them. So I'll brown them in there in a little bit of olive oil, and then I'll deglaze the pan with some of that chicken stock. And then into this pot, I'm going to sweat some onions, and then I'm going to add some chopped garlic, and then I'm going to add cumin, paprika, oregano, and the teeniest bit of cayenne. I don't tolerate spicy hot, so I can only do a little bit of that, but boy, it bumps the flavor up. And then I'm going to chop in a good bit of red and green, and Chef John says it's important to use both. This one's bitter, this one's sweet. This is an unripe pepper, just like a lot of other fruit that's not ripe, and so it's green. And then as it ripens, it turns yellow, orange, and finally red. So this one's sweet because it's ripe. Y'all know that, I know. Anyway, and then I don't have any tomato paste still, so I'm going to chop up this last Roma in the house. But that worked really well last time. And all of that is going to go into this pot, and I'm just going to kind of cook it a little bit over some heat so that all those flavors can meld. And then I'm going to put a cup of rice, maybe a little more, maybe a heaping cup of rice, into raw rice, uncooked rice, into that mixture until it's all coated in the flavors of that. Okay, well coated, Chef John says. Then I'm going to pour my strained broth into there, and of course that's the liquid that the rice is going to cook in. So you need to make sure you have twice as much liquid as you do rice, or the rice won't cook properly. That's real important in this recipe. I don't know how big that pot is. That might be 3.5 cups rice, and that might be 3 cups of broth, which means I need 1.5 cups of rice. And I don't mind having the leftover rice because it's good on its own. Okay, and then you put all that in, and then just like dropping those biscuits last time, you take your chicken out of here, and you put it in there, and you add that deglazing liquid, which has so much good flavor. You really want to get all the flavor you can get into there. Then you cover it. This is a nice tight cover. put it in a 350 oven for 30 minutes, pull it out, and oh my goodness, and I think I've got some pictures from last time. I wanted to add, while I'm enjoying myself being creative in the kitchen, that I'm listening to music. But I can't play it for you because YouTube won't like that. But here, let me show you what I'm listening to. It is cozy coffee shop ambiance with relaxing jazz music, rain sounds, and crackling fireplace. 8 hours. Okie dokie, here's my chicken. It's about done, so I'm going to take it off the heat, put in a little bit of that broth, and move on with my recipe. All right, now I'm going to deglaze my pan with a little bit of water. But you know, now that I have a bottle of wine in the house, I'm really thinking that, I'm going to turn the heat on just a hair. I'm really thinking that would be a good idea too. Now, just as a little aside, for those of you who are uninitiated into the ways of wine like me, you can get these fun rubber stoppers that you put into your wine bottles that keep your wine fresh instead of fighting with that ugly cork, which I hardly ever want to do. And I want to talk about, where'd it go? There it is. This is the most wonderful salt grinder, and they got it at Marshall's. I've looked at Marshall's. I've looked for this. Oh gosh, is it going to focus? It's an A with an umlaut over it. I've looked for that trademark. Otherwise, there's no designation on this telling what it is. It's a wonderful salt grinder. This is not too shabby of a pepper grinder either. I don't know where they got that either. But man, they find the best stuff. So, yeah, I just really wish I could kind of kidnap my son-in-law and daughter's kitchen. So let me keep on adding. Oh, yeah, we were doing wine. Now, I don't want much. Chef John doesn't say to use wine. And I'm a little worried about ruining the recipe. So I'm just going to put the teeniest bit in there. Okay. That is it was just a cheap brand. But that's some Sauvignon Blanc. So we'll hope it's a fairly dry, definitely not sweet. All right, here we go. In addition, oh, let me turn that music off. Oh, darn it. Okay. In addition, my daughter has this lovely olive oil dispenser. Isn't that fun? So it's easy just to put a little bit of olive oil into your pan, like that. I have also drained off my my broth. There's the old veg, although it's not real old. I hate to waste that because it's not tired looking yet. And I ended up miraculously with exactly 3 cups of liquid. I don't know how that happened. So now we're going to brown our veg. Now this is veg. This isn't just extra flavor. This is the vegetable of your dish. So make sure that you're generous with your peppers and your onions. And I put a tomato in there. Even a second tomato would not go amiss. So you can be pretty generous because this is going to be the veg in addition to your meat and rice. Okay? Isn't that one of the nicest sounds in the world? Look, you can see that this pot has been used before and there's some leftover fond in there. The lovely stuff. I had a few escapist green peppers that wanted to come along with my onions and garlic. Now I'm going to get these just a littlest bit brown before I start adding anything else. Okay. Okay, now that looks just about perfect. See how they're starting to brown? Now, I apologize for not using a camera stand, but it's in my bedroom, and the baby is asleep, and I really, when I say the baby, I mean the toddler, and it's not worth it to go wake him up, because then all cooking would stop. Okay, let's add the other stuff. That's also why I'm whispering. Now, I went ahead and put my spices in, and it's important to know how spices work, and which ones to be careful with, and which ones you can be generous with. Cumin you can be generous with. I bet I put a teaspoon in there. But cumin will only taste like cumin if there's salt in the recipe. I found out the hard way years ago. I was putting tablespoons in because I couldn't taste it. It was terrible. Oh my goodness, that was a long time ago. So I'm pretty generous with cumin. I bet I put a teaspoon, then I put a generous grating of salt over that. Paprika, again, does not have a strong flavor. It's for color. So I was pretty generous, probably a teaspoon and a half. Oregano, again, it's a very gentle flavor, so I'll probably put in a teaspoon of that. The cayenne pepper, I just took a pinch in my fingers and did not risk the bottle over my pot. And probably 1/8 of a teaspoon maybe, because I want to be careful with that. So I'm going to let all that mix in with those onions. Now you're not so much cooking these veg as you're just getting them all coated with that flavor and starting to wilt them down. I really think I prefer using a whole tomato because it's got more moisture in it than paste does, because paste has been dehydrated. Of course you're going to put lots of broth in there, but I think this will help all these veggies to see how they're glistening. Such a pretty sight. All right, next we're going to add our broth. Well, scratch that. We don't add the broth next. We add the uncooked rice, and that's 1.5 cups of rice. Doesn't that look good already? I'm so hungry for this. I better turn the oven on. Don't want to not do that. Okay, now we add broth, and then we'll add the chicken. All right, you just lay that chicken in there gently like you're putting a baby to bed. And then don't forget your deglazing, especially this time. This is where my wine is, that little extra flavor. So I'm going to be adding that into there, covering it, put it in the oven. Okay, I've popped her in the oven, 1/2 hour. Don't you love that towel? I got that for my daughter for Christmas. Okie dokie. Are we ready for the big reveal? I haven't opened it yet. Ooh, doesn't that look great? The chicken should be really tender. Oh yeah, that looks wonderful. And then underneath, you have all that luscious rice. All right, it's what's for lunch. This is going to be great. Now, I did leave the skins on my chicken this time. Last time I took them off, and having the skin on there got me a little bit more oil in my gravy than before, but that doesn't really bother me much. But you can see the oily shine on the veg. That's okay. And I'll also say I ate a little bit of the rice. It's fully cooked. It's nice and separated. Last time it was a little more cooked because my oven was all the way heated up when I put the pot in. I could have left it in there another 5 minutes, but I'm hungry. I will say I put another nearly teaspoon of salt in and more pepper, and it needs more salt yet. So don't over salt, but do be generous because everything in this recipe needs salt. Thanks for joining me. Hi, my YouTube friends. Well, this will be the video for this week. We're pretty busy here at the daughter and son-in-law's house. We do have a new grandbaby, I'm happy to say. And this week will be even busier than last week because of that. Lots for Amanda to do. And my grandson loved it so much. He's about 1.5 years or so. And he ate a nice big bowl of it today for lunch. So we did that. We made some peanut butter cookies from a little, one of those little bag mixes, I think from Betty Crocker. That was fun. But I haven't had a lot of time to do anything creative. The cooking is about as creative as I'm getting right now, which is good. I did one little pitiful painting. Isn't that sad? I was painting along and I dropped my paintbrush and it smeared. And so this leaf down here was part of the smear, so I had to turn that into a flower. Anyway, I did bring some paints, but I haven't had much time. I brought a little knitting. I really can't get that out when he's around. He's at that age where he just comes at you and throws himself on you. And so if you have a knitting needle in your hand, that can be a little dangerous. Matter of fact, this is the kind of time of his life where you have, lots of toys on the floor. He just went to bed, and so I'll be picking those up in a second. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I have my camera stand, which I actually went and got. I didn't have it today when I cooked. It's balanced on my laptop, and then on a Kleenex box, and then on a children's book to get it high enough so that I don't have too much chin. All right, that's enough of that. Thanks so much for sticking with me. Y'all have a great day. Bye.